Oral traditions play a key part in the Native American cultural way of life. They also give outsiders a bit of an insight into the Native American lifestyle. In 1822, a man named Henry Schoolcraft was assigned to be an Indian agent of the Michigan Territory. There, he met an Ojibwa woman who taught him about the Ojibwa way of life. In her teaching, she told him about the oral traditions of the Ojibwa. Henry Schoolcraft was shocked to find out that Native Americans had the thinking capacity to tell stories generation to generation. At that time, Native Americans were perceived as nothing more than unintelligent savages. Henry Schoolcraft was so enchanted by this finding that he intensely began to study their oral traditions and compiled them into the first written record of Native American stories. Now I have an audio clip from one of Schoolcraft's books.
American Indian Fairy Tales, collected by Henry R. Schoolcraft and retold by W. T. Larned. Iagu, the Storyteller. There never was anyone so wise and knowing as old Iagu. There never was an Indian who saw and heard so much. He knew the secrets of the woods and the fields, and understood the language of birds and beasts. All his life long he had lived out of doors, wandering far in the forest where the wild deer hide, or skimming the waters of the lake in his birch-bark canoe. Besides the things he had learned for himself, Iagu knew much more. He knew the fairy tales and the wonder stories told him by his grandfather, who had heard them from his grandfather, and so on away back to the time when the world was young and strange, and there was magic in almost everything. Iagu was a great favorite with the children. No one knew better where to find the beautiful colored shells which he strung into necklaces for the little girls. No one could teach them so well just where to look for the grasses which their nimble fingers wove into baskets. For the boys he made bows and arrows, bows from the ash tree that would bend far back without breaking, and arrows strong and straight from the sturdy oak. But most of all, Iagu won the children's hearts with his stories. Where did the robin get his red breast? How did fire find its way into the world so that an Indian can get it out by rubbing two sticks together? Why was Coyote the prairie wolf so much cleverer than all the other animals? And why was he always looking behind him when he ran? It was old Iagu who could tell you where and why. Now winter was the time for storytelling. When the snow lay deep on the ground, the north wind came howling from his home in the land of ice, and the cold moon shone from the frosty sky. It was then that the Indians gathered in the wigwam. It was then that Iagu sat by the fire of blazing logs, and the little boys and girls gathered round him.
So in that clip, we just heard an excerpt from Henry Schoolcraft's book about the Ojibwa oral traditions. So one key thing about oral traditions is that they are highly structured and not altered a lot throughout the generations, so it's a pretty consistent story. And there are 4 types of these oral traditions: legends, myths, folk tales, and memorates. Legends involve a particular place and can involve ghosts, witches, or culture heroes, or some other type of phenomena that is related to that place. And a key thing about legends is that they link people with the land. Folktales are known untruths that are used to teach moral or social lessons, and sometimes they're just told for amusement. Myths portray the earliest possible times, which include creation stories, and they also explain why things are in the way they are in the world, such as why men and women are created and why they are different. So myths can play a pretty large part on shaping societal traditions. And then Marate is a story of a personal encounter with the supernatural or some other type of spirit interacting with a human being. Digital technology in the past few decades has begun to play a role in Native American oral traditions. The Inuits in the 1980s were the first to use video cameras to record their way of life, including their oral traditions. A key role that oral traditions play with digital technology is to show the world that Native Americans are not, as their stereotypes depict them, they are not savages and unintelligent beings. A Cheyenne man named John Stanton Timber wanted to show to the world that the Cheyenne people are intelligent, dignified beings, and he also wanted a way to preserve the legends and history of his people. He met up with a woman named Margot Liberty who helped him to record more than 30 hours of Cheyenne tradition, in which showed the culture of the Cheyenne people as dignified and civilized. Another important role that digital technology plays with the oral traditions in the Native American way of life is that it provides a way for Native American youth to feel a connection to their heritage. Inuit elders are eager to pass on oral traditions through video recordings and books to youth who might otherwise not be able to hear these stories. There is a high rate of suicide in the Inuit youth, and the elders believe that this is due to an identity crisis caused by being torn between mainstream culture and the Inuit heritage of their ancestors. The elders believe that if they can reach out to the youth by recording these oral traditions in books and videos and get them out to the youth, then they can help solve some of the identity crisis issues and make them feel more connected with their heritage. Using digital technology to record oral traditions of Native Americans has helped to continue storytelling, uphold the importance of the Native American community, acknowledges how the past has continued to influence the present, and recognizes the vital role oral traditions play in the Native American culture. The importance of oral traditions to Native Americans is apparent in the attempts of the elders and other natives who have gone out of their way to find ways to record stories that otherwise would only pass on from word of mouth. Preserving these stories in this way allows them to be around much longer and for further generations after the storyteller is gone.